Well, hello there. For various reasons, I'm feeling a little bit bored and don't have much to do, and in fact, really can't go out to do much. So I decided that I'm just going to go through my Transformers collection one at a time and share my thoughts on them, give them a little mini review, and just talk about them for a little bit. And, this is basically unscripted. I've got kind of some ideas of what I'm going to do, and, I'll probably mess up a couple of times as we're going through this, but whatever. We're here to have some fun. And I hope that you all have a good time. So this is actually one of my favorite Transformers figures ever. Transformers Generations Titans Return Quake. Now, Quake was originally a double target master from the G1 post-movie era. This figure has lost that gimmick, though, of course, if you have his original toy or if you have some of the newer Battle Masters from the War for Cybertron line, then you can, of course, give him those, though I wouldn't really recommend it for reasons that you will see in his robot mode. Not that it wouldn't look cool, but that it just kind of wouldn't work in the long run. But of course, since he is a part of the Titans Return line, he is a headmaster now, or rather a Titan Master, but to be perfectly honest, are any of us Transformers fans really using the precise terminology? Quake originally transformed into a tank, and he still does that, and I will show that off in a little bit. First of all, let's talk about his detailing. He has a lovely dark gray with black, burgundy, and a dark blue. I love this color scheme. It is a great color scheme. Everything feels like it's cohesive and simple, while at the same time giving him enough variety that he doesn't seem boring. He has not much printed detail, just kind of a Decepticon sigil on a lightning bolt on both shoulders, which I think looks kind of cool, kind of makes him feel like a part of a special squad or some sort. And he's got some silver on his chest, on a little bit on his arms, a little bit of silver paint there, and and these are in red paint, and they're pretty closely color matched to the burgundy pieces. Sorry about that, didn't mean to get my thumb in the way. So the paint job on him is absolutely excellent. A little bit of backpack kibble there, but not too terrible. A little cockpit module for his head, which we will see in a little bit. Overall, excellent figure. In fact, as I mentioned, one of, if not my absolute favorite Transformers characters. And there's a very simple reason for that. I love grunts in shows or video games or stuff like that, movies and stuff like that. Characters like Zaku or the Nightmare frames from Code Geass, Tieran from Gundam 00, or the Greys from Iron-Blooded Orphans, or even Stormtroopers. There is just something I love about a grunt design, this mass production soldier, I think thousands of identical units marching across the battlefield, and especially if they have a good design. And obviously in Transformers, most of the toys you can buy are actual characters with personalities and stuff like that. They're not mass production grunts unless there's someone like, say, Reflector. And Quake is a character in and of himself, but he has such a great grunt body. I love it. Oh, I feel I should also mention at this time, Quake is a redeco and a minor retool of, what was his name? Hardhead, also from the Titans Return line. He is in primarily green and gray, but I didn't like that color scheme as much, but I love the color scheme on this guy, so I had to pick him up when I got the chance. But as I was saying, and again, you can see this is kind of non-scripted, this is just kind of my free-flow thoughts, I love grunt designs, and he has such a great grunt design. He's got this nice, solid feel of all these mechanical components. He's got the fantastic cannon jutting over his back and shoulder. His feet have styling in them so that they have to be at an angle. He can't really rest his feet evenly on the ground, or else it looks kind of like he's standing up on his tiptoes. So he's always standing in this great pose where he just feels like he's projecting power and confidence with the big shoulders and the bulky forearms. Honestly, I feel like he kind of feels like a mass production Megatron body. Like, Megatron's design of the Decepticons was so successful that the Decepticons started producing bodies for their soldiers that were a simplified version of Megatron's. But, so I mentioned the canon, so I guess we should probably get on to talking about his posability. He's got pretty good posability. Since he has the Titan Master head, it is on a ball joint, can do a complete turnaround. He can look up and down, he can kind of do a little side to side, so he can kind of cock his head. Oh, you can probably hear my dryer in the background, or rather my washing machine. So professional. The cannon can kind of go side to side and go up and down. It is on a lovely hinged joint here, so it can actually store on the back. And oh, that looks so good with the cannon not deployed, and kind of adds to that whole Megatron feeling and the classic Megatron design with the gun barrel poking up over his shoulder. I'll leave it like that for his for right now. Arm kind of doesn't go out much, but it's mounted on this hinge here, so it can actually go out a decent amount. Double hinged arms, he can bend his arm backwards a little bit, and he can bend it forwards a decent amount, but he kind of does only a little more than a 90-degree angle. Hand is mounted on a swivel, and here you can see a nice big open area. Honestly, one of my only complaints about the figure is just how open this is here. No waist articulation whatsoever. He is a solid block of a body. Legs can go that far forward, that far back. Can go to the side. Fantastic. A little swivel here so you can adjust the leg. Knee is on a single joint, 90 degrees. There's a joint in the leg, but that's for the transformation. And then he has toe bend here, but again, that's for the transformation. It just kind of locks in and doesn't really do anything. So you can do a pretty, decent amount of poses with this guy. If you can get him balanced out, you can have him, you can kind of get it. Yeah, we got him. You can have him pose looking very dramatic as he's firing from behind a cordon or something, firing behind a wall at a distant Autobot. Showed off his cannon barrel already, but I'll kind of come back to it when we talk about his accessories. Cannon has some lovely detail all along the line. Has a 5mm port at the top here. This part opens up and folds back to reveal a little Titan Master seat. So you can have a little Titan Master gunner behind him, which is, I think that's kind of a cool little detail. Not quite what I would do, but I kind of like that thing. And then he's got this very basic gray rifle, the basic style. There's a part of me that kind of wishes this had a 5mm port on the back of it and then like a chainsaw underneath so you could hold it like a sword or something, and then in rifle mode it would look like something from Gears of War, because I think that, having a nice angry melee weapon would work really well for him. But this kind of basic, almost assault rifle or submachine gun kind of design really works for a character that, again, feels a lot like a grunt character. And so, let's see, let's get into his tank mode, but first I'm gonna pop his head off, since you kind of have to as a part of the transformation. Actually, you don't. The design of the hard head in Quake mold is such that the head can stay connected the whole time during the transformation, and it just means that his tank mode has a head sticking out of it with nowhere to go, but don't do that. It doesn't look good. His head, very basic. It's basically gray, but it's got some nice detail on it. The painting on the face is great. It's got a nice, serious expression of the slight downturn to the cheek, and some decent painting on the eyes. Kind of hard to see, but it looks like there's a little red drip on the side of the nose. But, no biggie. And of course, he is a Titan Master, which means that he transforms into a little robot. I'll turn his head around. Yeah, this is a basic robot. Now he's gray and dark blue, which looks good. He's got the basic Titan Master posability. Arms go up and down, kind of in and out. The legs can kind of bend into a seating position, and of course, all the way back up. And his head, moves from side to side. It's hard to tell. There's a decent little amount of detail on this guy. I don't remember his name. In the story of the toy line, all these Headmaster, Titan Master things are supposed to have special powers that they can grant to their partner, and I don't remember what this guy is or what he does. I'll put a little note on the video with his name and his powers, but To be honest, and this will probably come up again in a later video, I'm not a huge fan of the concept of headmasters or power masters, or at least, honestly, how American groups did it. Or rather, the American story. Because it's just kind of weird that you have, sentient characters that basically chop off their heads and lose the ability to become, ambulatory in their humanoid mode unless they're working together with another character. That's just weird to me, and it kind of doesn't make sense as anything except for a toy gimmick. I do kind of prefer how they do it in Japan, where they have these bodies are basically lifeless things called transtectors that the little robot is the actual machine and then it plugs into. And the same thing for Power Masters, just the idea of needing another character to power them up. It feels very Minicon from Transformers Armada, which can work, but when it's necessary to unlock your transformation, I'm just not a big fan of it. I do love Target Masters and by extension Battle Masters, the idea of basically this secondary gunner for you to improve your accuracy as a partner in battle. Like, that makes sense to me, but having your head be another character, that's just weird. So anyway, we got this guy. I'm going to put him off to the side for right now, right there, and we're going to do transformation. I'm going to pop the gun off. It's a decent, simple transformation. Hands go into the forearms. Forearms then kind of fold up and connect to each other. I'm going to pull the gun back just a little bit to make this easier. Toes fold up, and I'm going to do this in a weird order because, I'm just kind of weird. Backpack disconnects entirely from the back, and then that pops open and reveals kind of the interior. The top of him basically folds up into his shoulders, chest, and back. Then the whole leg assembly flops backwards, like that. Great. That joint that I mentioned in the posability comes into play. You fold that up, kind of like that. Fold that up, kind of like that. There's little post holes inside the thighs here that connect these pegs here. And then these guys kind of come forward, and they just kind of sit like there. They don't really peg in, but they stay pretty well. Then the arms and their little hinge joint in the shoulder rotate forward. These have a little peg here and a hole here, and that plugs in like that. And same on the other side, if it'll do it. There we go. This part, his hip armor unpegs and folds back to flatten it out. And we turn him over. The gun mount is on this little sliding pin, and we push that in, and then we lay it flat. And then we open the cockpit. We take our little dude here, and we put him in and close it up. And I'm just gonna readjust the camera briefly so we can get a better shot of him. And here is Quake's tank mode, and I love it. He transforms into a sci-fi H-tank. Oops, that's a little misaligned. A sci-fi H-tank design, which a number of Megatrons transform into, which kind of lends credence to my sort of headcanon that he is sort of based off of Megatron. He's got this very nice compact design. Doesn't really look much like his original toy, because obviously he's just a minor retool of a pre-existing toy that looked much closer to its original, but I think it works really well here. He does roll back and forth. He has a pair of little wheels on his back legs, which are actually kind of visible in his robot mode, and by kind of visible, I mean they're translucent and blue and in the middle of a gray piece of plastic. And then he's got this weird little spinning cylinder that is kind of falling out. Interesting. Little spinning cylinder thing that honestly could have just been another pair of wheels, or they could have had a pair of wheels here and they could have been in gray and they would not have been noticeable. Whatever. Well, I've got him like this, actually. Not too much kibble. He's a little bit hollow, and you kind of have to question, like, where all the guts of the tank mode are. But, you know, there's recognizable pieces of a robot, but really, there's not much here that immediately screams robot. If this was like a, you know, quote-unquote realistic robot transforming machine, that'd be cool. Kind of a weird detail, and it might be a little hard to see, but, the little gun ports on his chest are actually, hollow. They're actually holes. See my hand waving through them. That's some weird thing. I don't know why they did that. Especially because I've now realized there's like a minor plastic molding issue with mine. Anyway, again, detail looks great. The body of the tank is basically a nice deep burgundy red, and you've got some gray on this side, a little bit of blue here, but it looks great as kind of the gunner port. The tank cannon is nice and low, but you can lift it up on its little mount there, and now it can adjust and fire in different directions. If you have a Titan Master, you can pop him in there and you've got a little gunner. I don't have a second Titan Master with me immediately. It's in my room with the rest of the guys, so we're just going to close that up and pretend it doesn't exist. You can store his rifle right there, and it looks a little weird. It kind of ruins the shape of it and the nice compact look, but you know, unfortunately, it's kind of the only place to store it. There's no port on the bottom where the gun stores. It just kind of has to clip there or disappear, and that's kind of why, unfortunately, he wouldn't really work as a double Target Master, even if you had some Target Masters, as he really only has that one hole to store weapons. He has no other peg holes on his legs, on his arms, nothing visible. Mind you, like, that play pattern really didn't come into play until War for Cybertron, but for right now, it's just, yeah, at this point in time, there really weren't many pegs on toys like this guy, but I still think he looks absolutely fantastic and wonderful. He's also got little pegs here. You can stand some Titan Masters on him, and that would be fine if you wanted to do that. I'm not sure why you want to, but he can have, like, 4 little Titan Masters standing on him. He can have 1 piloting it, and he can have 1 in the cannon if you want to. And, well, that's fine. Really quickly, one thing that I forgot to mention is how he, the head pegs into the body, folds up easily enough, but on some Titan Masters, and especially on this one, you're supposed to be able to just kind of stick it in there. And, you know, that kind of works, but it's a little loose and wobbly on mine if I do it that way, and on some of them it can get stuck, and then the head will actually pop off. You don't want that. So what I tend to do when I transform this little guy is I turn his head 180 degrees around, and it still pegs into that little slot nicely, and then you get a nice solid neck joint. So just something to consider when you are looking at or playing with a Titan Master figure is some of these are a little weird that way. Anyway, so that is Titans Return Quake, one of, if not my favorite, Transformer toy ever. Love this guy so much. He's so fun to play with, and he looks so good, and I'm so glad that I have him. Obviously, of course, he came out a couple of years ago, so the only way to really get him now is to get lucky on eBay, but he's a pretty solid toy, so I think you'll get lucky with him and getting one in good condition. In the meantime, I think tomorrow I'll continue with this theme of grunt-style figures that I'm a fan of. But in the meantime, anyone watching this, take care of yourselves and play well.